Fred Chikbana would appear here as the bishop, the Catholic Bishop of Makurdi Diocese, the capital of Benue State in Nigeria. I am the shepherd of one of the 4 dioceses, Catholic dioceses in Benue. We have others, Anglican, Methodist, and Pentecostals, which certainly Benue State has a population of about 6.1 million people, 2 million of whom are those under my care as the bishop of the diocese. Benue State is about 98% Christian, with very few Muslims living in towns. Nigeria and eventually my diocese and the state of Benue have become, in recent years, one of the most dangerous and insecure places for Christians. Christians and Muslims are nearly evenly divided among Nigeria's large population of over 200 million persons. Islamist extremists are fiercely contesting the possession, control, and governing law of the land, especially in the country's northern and central regions, the latter of which is where Benue is located. There are constant ethnic, political, and religious conflicts over land and allegiance. Constitutionally, we are a secularist country, but our unity has been fragile. Political and religious actions and even public speech have been carefully managed to avoid accusations of religious bias and political tensions. Today, the clear influence of Islamist extremists has changed the traditional social dynamics of tribe, ethnicity, religion, and the social status in Nigeria. Because just recently, at the beginning of the Ramadan fast, 12 states in northern Nigeria have declared closed schools so that they attend to this. And you can imagine, which other country in the world does that? Saudi Arabia is not doing it. Afghanistan is not doing it. Baghdad is not doing it, but then Nigeria is practicing. What kind of Islam are they practicing? 12 states, and not only Muslims are living in these places. What happens with the educational program or curriculum of the country? But this is what we are going through every day in Nigeria. A long-term Islamic agenda to homogenize the population has been implemented over several presidencies through a strategy to reduce and eventually eliminate the Christian identity of half of the population. This strategy includes both violent and non-violent actions, such as the exclusion of Christians from positions of power and adoption of such church members, the raping of women, the killing and exploitation of Christians, the destruction of churches and farmlands of Christian farmers, followed by the occupation of such lands by the Fulani herders, and also changing the names of these villages. They are taking over the places, so you clearly see an expansionist approach and Islamic, and then they are making the people now flee and leave their villages, and they conquer it. The quest to Islamize the land appears high on the agenda of some of the powerful and influential Muslims in Nigeria. There is a campaign to take land to spread Islam, and there is the hemorrhaging of Christian farmers from the central region of Nigeria and Benue State, and Makurdi Diocese in particular, as they are forced to abandon fertile lands that use to feed the nation, which classify Benue as the food basket of the nation. Militant Fulani herdsmen are terrorists destroying society. They steal and vandalize, they kill and boast about it. They kidnap and rape, and they enjoy total impunity from the elected authorities. None of them have been arrested and brought to justice. This is supported by the corrupt system in which we operate and the abject poverty among us, which allow the criminals to easily attract more recruits and prey on more victims. Why is this happening? Is it really a religious war? Like in the past, many jihadists are motivated less by religion than by spoils of war and use their religion to impose themselves. In my diocese, the spoils consist mainly of fertile, well-tended land organized around my parishes or so. The jihadists come and adopt and kill the priests, leaving thousands without support and basic human services. And of course, when they disperse the people, the inhabitants, or the citizens, or the people of the lands, they take over. And any attempt to go back and take care of your farms, surely you get killed. The Makurdi Diocese in Benue State has been the epicenter of the invasion by these herders, who are more like hired guns of cattle oligarchies, who manipulate religion to rally the headers to eliminate the Christian population and cleanse the land in the name of Islam. This objective is behind the relentless attacks against Benue's villages. When we call for help to the police and the army, they do not come. At the end of 2024, several villages were warned by the attackers of the upcoming violence, and the leaders called the police for defense ahead of time. But they did not come, and the Christian massacres, almost customary, took place, killing hundreds in Plateau and Benue, with the worst massacre claiming 47 people. The Militant also burned down the 8 Catholic churches of St. Mary's Parish in the Diocese of Boko, which in Benue State, as well as the parish house, clinics, schools, and other houses. The militant Fulani herdsmen bear on defenseless villagers without consequences. They follow orders to conquer, kill, and occupy. They attack even those who have managed to escape into our IDP camps. Thereby, they have no place to run to. And it is unfortunate that the police system in Nigeria, orders have to come from above. And such that once there's a call, and they say they have never responded. And by the time they arrive, these people have left, and the people are now living in the pool of their blood. What I have recounted above is happening not only in Benue State. I believe our experience in Benue is symptomatic of what is happening elsewhere in large parts of Nigeria. The experience of the Nigerian Christians today can be summed up as that of a church under Islamist extermination. It is frightening to live there. Apart from the violent campaigns and attacks against Christian villages, there are now attempts by the Islamic Council of Nigeria and various Islamic groups to impose Sharia law on the Christian populations. Already, 12 states in the north of Nigeria are under this sectarian religious law, and attempts to extend the same to the south of Nigeria, which they have started. This month, governors in the north decided appropriately to close all schools and education institutions during the months of Ramadan, leaving millions of students without learning opportunity for 5 weeks. We live in fear because at any point it can be our turn to be killed, but to remain silent is to die twice. So, I have chosen to speak. I speak on behalf of the millions who are in the camps. In Benue State, in Makurdi Diocese alone, in my diocese, I have about 9 camps. 9. On the 5th of March, which was Ash Wednesday, we visited one of the camps, and many of my priests and religious went to the other camps, distributed them to begin the Ash Wednesday with our faithful who are there, because we are the voice of the voiceless. We have to talk for the defenseless. We have to talk about the weak and those who cannot talk about themselves. In one of the camps called the Mega Camp, there were over 3,000 inmates of that camp, and which was a record given to us by government. I speak on behalf of them and those children who have no husband, who have no father, and even their own voices taken away by the politicians who promised to help them, but have become the willing tools of the jihadists because they are talking politically correct statements, looking for next elections to come. I speak on behalf of those whose loved ones have been killed, but no one has even offered a word of consolation to them. I speak on behalf of the thousands of young girls who have been adopted and raped because no one, not even the media, mentions them anymore. Foremost, I speak on behalf of my flock who are unable to worship freely and unable to return to their ancestral farms and homes because that land has been ruthlessly taken from them by the armed herdsmen. And where they say they want to live in peace with the natives, if you must farm, you have to pay tax to hire the land which belongs to you. That is slavery, to say the least about it. As prosperous Nigeria is in African continent, and I tell you, if there's outbreak of war in Nigeria, no country around us, Chad, Niger, Ghana, Guinea, Togo, no country can contain the population that will flee to these places. No country can be able to house over 5 million refugees. It's not possible because of that. And if 1 million refugees run to Chad and Niger, they'll collapse that country because there'll be no plan to take care of them. So we have to be very careful. Today, I urge you all to use every means within your mandate to start developing a strong and good relationship with Nigeria, where you know that when you speak of human dignity, You are also speaking of the same God-given right you believe is unalienable. Consider that Nigeria can be your ally, but it cannot be one where half the population is in the process of being murderously eliminated. Work with us, the churches, and other Nigerians of goodwill. We are working for a peaceful and prosperous society, and our desperate plight has been set aside U.S. policy for too long, to the cost of thousands of lives. Concretely, I request and I plead, I ask you to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This has both a practical and diplomatic meaning to signal that you are paying attention to what happens to us and elsewhere in the world. Because the policies the government is trying to put in place, so that to return the IDPs, build camps for them, relocate them from their homes, it is not durable and it will not work, because the government has already the population that is not able to take care of. And then you have over millions of people in the camps, and you want to relocate them to where? And if you do, let's take that you do. How many houses or rooms will you give me who has 5 children, another one has 3, another one has 2? And what will I be doing for a living? These people previously never begged anybody for food. They were managing their lives, training their children, and building their homes. So nobody should have deceived us on the guys that you're going to resettle the IDPs. They have no jobs. So where you say them, what will be their place? And by the way, the fundamental question remains, if you resettle them to other camps or build places for them, what happens with the ancestral lands? Who takes care of them? And this is whereby I feel the government is complicit on this issue. Because these terrorists, Fulanis, displace them, kill people, and then occupy the place, and then change names, nomenclatures of these towns. For what reason? So we want to let the people go back to their homes and help for them to rebuild their lives. I implore this august body to insist on the return and rehabilitation of all the IDPs to their ancestral lands, and not to relocate them to other constructed camps elsewhere, which is an invented solution now being pushed in the Benue State government. And I tell you, Nigeria government can do that once they have to be accountable. Because I know Nigeria, under the auspices of ECOMOG, was able to reinstate constitutional government in Sierra Leone and Liberia. And they can do that now. We have the capacity, but because the leaders that are not prepared. And I think that's whereby I look, it's not just, conspiracy of silence, it is aiding, abetting, and supporting these terrorists to keep doing their work. This is my plea. Thank you very much for this attention.
Again, they stormed Middle Belt yesterday, Benue preside, and kill a lot of people. As it speaks now, 90 people have reportedly died on that single one. And the villagers now, they are running for safety. They are running to Biafra land for safety. But the problem is that even the Southeast, they are running for safety. Is it secured? Because since Mazinam, they cannot have a stop not to communicate with Biafrans. It's as if that these Fulani now have the audacity to enter into the Biafra soil and raping women, kidnapping people, do all sorts of things. We can see over the week where the video that was trending like fire, where those women in Enugu were shouting about these Fulani bandits, raping them, killing their husbands, raping their daughters. To the extent that they are even using their stick on their women. And this is what we are saying, we are condemning it. That is no longer acceptable. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if the president is incapacitated to take care of the Middle Belt, let them tell us, so that we can set and defend ourselves. Enough of these shenanigans that these Fulani people are doing. And that's why a lot of people, we have joined our voice. So people say, you wrote and the court are declaring Biafra a terrorist organization. Why these people are committing this atrocity? These people are destroying different regions. You keep them. What is the federal government waiting for? What is the court waiting for? And then I'm telling you, the Fulani, they don't have the court. Or could it be deleting a man who tried to defend himself? Coincidentally, the Fulani man died, and they took the matter to court that they are sending the man death sentence. Are they telling us that Fulani are now the owners of Supreme Court? Is that what they are trying to say? We can no longer keep quiet. We will speak. Because you that kill, the one day you too, you will die. Today, where is Ayo Adebanjo? He has gone to meet his ancestor. Where is Edwin Clark? Edwin Clark has gone to meet his ancestor. Where is Dr. Kukpe? He has died and meet his ancestor. You that is interviewing me, even me, likewise one day, every one of us will go. This squad is like a marketplace. Everyone come to the market to come and buy. Once you are finished with what you came for, you are going. Fulani people that are also killing people and using it to joy, they will definitely die one day. But before somebody will cut your life short, you must do all your possible means to secure yourself. That's why I'm encouraging everybody. Try to defend yourself no matter what the case may be. Because the former president of this country, Buhari, has told Nigeria that the Fulani people that are doing all these atrocities, they are not Nigerians. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if these Fulani who are killing people from the Middle Belt, from Southeast, from Southwest here, they are not Nigerians. Why are you people shading them? Why? Why you allow foreigners to come and kill people in their land and nobody is talking? And that's what we are saying. That's no longer acceptable. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should not think about 2027 elections and allow this criminal element to do what they are. We are saying that Mazen Amikano should be released. Tell me offense that Mazen Amikano has done that these Fulani people have not done. For me, at my knowledge, that's why the man said it, that he has told the federal government because what he committed was not in the Southeast. What is committed is in the soil of the Southeast, that they should take his matter to Southeast. You get my point? Because he's fighting for his region, how to protect his people. Now, these Fulani men that are moving from one region to another to make sure they keep people. What has federal government did to them? They have not done anything to them. What did they say? They have assigned another lawyer to Mazen Amikano to take over the case. Let's see how it goes. Mazen Amikano, is he a small fish? It's not a small fish. The whole world is watching.
Yes, Binta Nyako called Mazen Amikano a higher reality. What does that mean?
Yes, to him, he's the one that knows the language, but a higher reality to me, if you want me to interpret it, he has seen that this man is more knowledgeable than him. Because a man who have been castrated, men who are, let me say castrated, because they cage him, they kidnap him. Since then, are they giving him a woman to sleep with? A matured man who has complained that he has a suggestive heart failure, no doctor, according to Mazen Amikano, I quote, that they are giving him fake doctor to treat him. And he has a regard, he's knowledgeable. A man who came to court with evidence, he has his full interpreting the law for a whole justice Iyanku. That's to tell you that the man is knowledgeable. So he can never be pushed aside. That's why you see many judges now, they are running for this case because they don't want to disgrace their name. They don't want to put their name in the mud. But the whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. Whatever President Bola Ahmed Tinubu regime wants against Mazen Amikano, Mazen Amikano will get his freedom. I've said it. Mazen Amikano is fighting for Yoruba. He's fighting for the Middle Belt. He's fighting for the all ethnic groups in Nigeria. He's not only fighting for the Igbo. If people get their referendum today, Oduduwa will get their own, and everybody will go. Are you telling me if Oduduwa get their republic, the Fulani can just invade their land and come and kill? Is it possible? Let them go to Ghana and kill people like that. If they will not put them where they belong, let them go to Cotonou and kill people like that. Some people say, like today's newspaper, what is this in Dele Momodu? If you have 30 million, there's no need of you to travel out of Nigeria. What is 30 million? Do you think everybody that is traveling to abroad is because of money? The answer is no. People have this money. Some people are going because Nigeria is not more secure, kidnapping everywhere, killing everywhere. The food we consume now is now poisonous. Because many food that are being produced in this country, as I speak to you, they are poisonous. Nobody is checkmating anything. The NAFDAC are not no longer doing their work. That's why Nigerian lifespan is decreasing every day because of what we consume. Are poisonous to us. So for Dele Momodu, you should not think that it is because of money. Everybody is jackpot to UK. There are people who God has blessed, who they feel that their life need to be secured with what they are eating. Traveling from the road from here to Abuja now, you are no longer safe. You have to pray for your life. So if you have 30 million and you are being kidnapped by Boko Haram, by a bandit, they are demanding 100 million. Where will you see the 70 million to complete it? To pay yourself? Or where are we now in this country where we see the youth of Afenifere was being kidnapped and they are demanding 100 millions? Come on. If you are to be a politician, if you are to be a person who grown up in Nigeria that make that statement, I will take it, but not somebody like Dele Momodu. Dele Momodu has made his more money in UK. He cannot come and be advancing Nigeria. For goodness sake. So all these politicians should not be taken serious. They should not be taken serious. It's not the right position to address Nigeria on what to do. Is it by 30 million? What is 30 million? 30 million cannot buy you a good car in Nigeria. 30 million cannot build you a house. What is 30 million? 30 million is equivalent to $20,000. You say, I get $20,000, you'll be okay? I have children to take to school. For goodness sake. So for me, I think Nigeria, we need to stand up and fight for our rights. Let's stop prolonging these evil days. Because these evil people need to push aside so that we'll take what belongs to us.
Mazen Samonipa account has been frozen, but we saw revelation that Samonipa has no bank account within Nigeria or in Africa. Anywhere. Different land government is also saying I don't know what you mean by frozen Nnamdi Kanu's account. What is Tinubu trying to push or understand that he is frozen Simon Ekpa's account, whereby Simon Ekpa has no account in Nigeria? What's your reaction to
All
that?
these things, they are propaganda. They just want to gather evidence to say that this is the reason why they declare IPOP is a terrorist organization. Money has been sponsored. Money has been sponsored by Boko Haram. People are sending money to him. All this thing we know is a tricks they are trying to play. But don't forget that there's no smoke without fire. The truth will come out. It can take time, but the truth will surely improve.
Okay. Do you see the removal of Fubara as another move by the Fulani to plant a Fulani governor in South?
It will not work. It will not work because none of them can remove Fubara. If you remove Fubara state, it's either you declare that state of emergency because nobody will sit there. And that's the problem. We're advising President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, tell these people, settle this case amicably. Let them reserve their fight against 2027 election. Wike can go and engage themselves 2027 to know what they do. But trying to remove Fubara now is going to cause a lot of damage in River State. And from there, it can escalate and the country will be divided under the hand of Buhari. Tinubu, except Tinubu want to use River State to divide Nigeria. Except that. But if you don't want Nigeria to divide for now, let it allow peace to reign in River State.
How would you react to the movement of former president from Daura to just nowhere? Because a lot of Nigerians are wondering, can Nnamdi Kanu be true?
Yes, of course, the evil team men do go after them. Buhari orchestrated this insecurity we have in Nigeria. Because if you forget vividly, he told President Goodluck Jonathan that I will make your government ungovernable if you try to win 2015 election. And this is what we are seeing today. The same Buhari, I quote, Buhari said that the Fulani that are doing this thing are not Nigerian Fulanis, that they are Fulani from Burkina Faso, Buhari from Sahel. Who brought them? He brought them and the APC in 2015 to make sure that if there's any this thing, they will cause mayhem. But today they won the election, and maybe probably they refuse to settle the bargain they have with these boys. And this criminal element, they are moving from one place to another to kidnap people, to rape people, to make money. And that's what we are today. Thank God for his dear life. He's running for his dear life. That's why I say, karma is free. Whatever you do, we come after you. And they are hunting after him. As a lot of people have said that the same people that will finish him. But we know because it's a bone of contention now that is thrown on the head that even the Buhari we are talking about, that Buhari is gone. That this one that is not the Buhari. Because we imagine that the federal government will have laid these charges against Nnamdi Kanu, that why do you accuse former President Buhari that is dead while he's alive? But today, as I speak to you, federal government did not lay that cause. That means that Nnamdi Kanu is right.
Are you sensing Nnamdi Kanu freedom any moment from now, given that his case has been reassigned?
He's a freedom fighter. Probably God have hand in the Nnamdi Kanu case. He come out now, he's going to raise the flag, and they know what they are doing, and that's why they are not ready to release him. But when the time comes, they will not have choice. Nnamdi Kanu will be released.
Thank you.
Thank you.